Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Hamza Ali, and today I will guide you how you can save list of objects uh, in shared preferences. So we often use shared preferences in mobile application development to cache data locally, to cache simple data or persistent data in our app so that we can use it throughout the app, and we can store it locally. So uh, shared preferences only stores a specific kind of data like string, bool, double, or list of string, or set of strings. So it does not directly save uh, the list of generic objects. So sometimes we get data from our remote services and we want to save it locally and use in other screens. So for that, first of all, we should have this shared preferences package added to our project. And then what we will do is we will create a data class which will hold data for our object that we want to store as a list in shared preferences, and retrieve it when we want. So let's go and create the file for, we will save person's data for example. So we'll create a class person, and a person can have a name, final string name, and they can have an age. So we create this, and now we will create a constructor. So when we will create objects and we will save it in our list, we can use this constructor. So now what we will do is how we are going to save this list in shared preferences when shared preferences do not support it. So what we will do is we will create it in a string of list, a JSON string actually, because shared preferences support strings. So to retrieve our object uh, from JSON, we use from JSON method. So we will create a factory constructor here, and we will call it from JSON. So we will use it when we want to retrieve the JSON data that is stored in shared preferences, and we will convert it in our person object. So we will return, sorry, we'll have string, and because our data is of different type, one is string and one is integer. Sorry, I made a mistake, it should be integer. So one is integer and one is string. So will have a dynamic, uh, we will have value as dynamic and key as string, because JSON data is always in key value pair. So that's why we are having a map here. So we will return a person object because it's a factory constructor. So we have to return a object, whatever object we create here. So we will have from key name and JSON and the key will be age. So we will get the data from JSON, and we will create a object of our class when we are retrieving the data. So to serialize data as JSON to create our object into JSON data, we will create another method called toJSON. So, because as I said earlier, JSON data is always in key value pair, so it will return a map of type string and uh, dynamic data, because our data is one is integer and one is string. To JSON will return a key value pair, a map, because we are the key here is name, so it should be here as name, it should be similar, else we will have a null value for name here, or age if we created different keys. So now that our data class is created and it's all set up, that how we are going to serialize our objects as JSON, so which we will use to manipulate the data and to store and retrieve the data from shared preferences. So it can be your you can create this class for your generic data, or it can be a model already created for a remote service. So it depends on how you are trying to use it. So now we will go in our screen, our first screen, where we have a button to save the list, uh, to save the list of persons in shared preferences. For that we have this button on UI, and there's another button which will take us to the next screen and show the list in the UI. So first of all we will save the list. So we will create a future method which will return void. So we'll name it save persons list. Okay, so we will create a shared preferences object. We will initialize it, and it should be awaited because it's future. And now we will change our list of objects in JSON string. So JSON string list, and before we proceed we should create a list here. So I think I have commented it out. Yes, I have commented it out. So I have uncommented it. We will import the same person class we created, and we will add these objects, these persons data in our list. And So this is the person type list, and here we will change it to JSON string list, so that we can save it in the shared preferences, as shared preferences only support certain type of data that I have told you earlier, and one of them is list of string. So we will change each of our object from the list into a JSON object, and then we will convert all those objects into a list. JSON import. Sorry, E. So from the persons list, we are iterating on every element that we have. So we can name it as person for more clarity and readability. So from the list above, we have four elements in this list with separate data. So uh, from that list, we will map every object uh, and create it as a JSON and encode it as JSON, and we will create a list of string. Because the JSON encode method accept a object as a parameter and string returns a JSON string. So what we are doing here, we are mapping each and every person object into a JSON object using JSON encode and our two JSON method that we created earlier, and we are creating it converting it to list using toList method, and and then we will have a JSON string which is a format that is accepted by shared preferences. So let's move on and save our list of string into shared preferences. So we will await on it as it is a future method. So we will set string list, and we will have a name here for our data, and we will just add this JSON string. So set string list, and we have this string list which is actually a JSON uh, list that of our object that we want to save in shared preferences. So now we will move to next screen, and we will retrieve this data, and we will show it on our UI. So I have this data commented out. Let's uncomment these. I've created all this before, and now I'll uncomment these, and we will create a method to get retrieve the list of data that we saved as a string. Now we will retrieve it as a person class object. So it will be future, and we want it to be type of person, so we will give it type person and get persons list. Again we will create a shared preferences object here too, because this is a different screen. Get instance, and we will add this. We will make this method async there because we are awaiting on a future method. So let's retrieve the list of strings that we have stored in the shared preferences before. So it is saying that it can return a null value, so we will make it nullable and we will handle the null value on our own, and here we will give it the key that we created earlier, so it should match. I'll copy it in case. So now we are retrieving our list, and we will put a check if it is not equal to null, because it's nullable and it can return null, so we have to put a check, and then it should return a list of persons. So how we are going to retrieve the list of persons? So as we have data stored as a list of string, and we have created each and every object of person class as a string in shared preferences as a JSON string. So uh, uh, when we are retrieving it as a string element in a list of string. So we can name it JSON string, and here what we are going to do, we are going to call uh, our factory constructor that we created from JSON. So from this JSON string we are going to create a person object. First we will change the string into a object, and again we will make it as string. Let me just close it, and let me explain it to you again, that we have stored a list of string. We have stored every object of our person class as a string in shared preferences, and when we are retrieving the data, we are changing it from JSON string to a object of our person class, and that's why we created this from JSON method. In this method, it will accept a map object, which is a key pair value, and it will retrieve the key from value from key, and it will use the constructor of our person class and create the object of our person class. This is called JSON serialization. So now we have to return something. So we are returning the empty list in case we don't have anything under this key in shared preferences. So now we have to just show it on our UI. So for that we can make another method, and void show persons list, and in this method we will just call our list method, and we have created a list, this list, which will populate our uh, list that we are going to show, which will populate the data which we are going to show on the screen. So to update the state, we will call set state, because we are going to call it in init method of our class for the sake of simplicity, because we are just showing how you can save and retrieve data as a generic list or as a generic object using shared preferences. So we are not doing anything fancy, we are just keeping everything really simple. So now when we call this method, it will set the list in this object or the list variable that we created above, and it will populate the UI. So now let's run our program and see what we have got. So there's one thing left. uh, First of all, let me get the persons list in this method as a parameter. Previously we called it directly. I think the best way is to call it through a parameter. So it does not matter, but I think this is the good way. We forgot to call the save list method on our button, which we'll use to save the data, uh, person's data in shared preferences. So now let's run our project and see what we have got. Let me just, because we are printing it on the console, so that's why I have opened the console to see if it saves the list. The list is saved here, and now we will move to next screen, and it should show all of our data that we have put here, uh, it will be fetching from shared preferences. So it has shown all the list of uh, persons that we are showing on one screen, and we can use it in second screen or third screen or anywhere in the app using the shared preferences, and we can persist that data, we can store it locally. So now what we will do is we will try and add another, we will call it Mandy, and they are 20 years old. And now we will run it again because it's not in our build method, it will not change with the build. We are uh, creating the list on top, it's not in the button, not in the build method, so it will not uh, work with uh, control S or hot reload. So again, first we have to save the list. The list is saved, and now we will see if we have Mandy here. If we'll see, we have Mandy here. So that is how you save a list of generic objects in your shared preferences in Flutter. So you can use JSON serialization, and there are multiple use cases, whether you are getting data from an API or any other remote service, or there is any data that you want to persist in the app, so and you want to use anywhere in the app, and it's a generic object or a generic object list, so and you want to save it in shared preferences, so this is how you save. So stay tuned for my next lectures and next tutorials. So inshallah we will need we will meet next time with something new. So take care and Allah Hafiz.